We are live, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tio and the Arcane Bear. Another wonderful day here in the jungles of Costa Rica. We're going to be going over our favorite digital crypto assets, starting generally with Bitcoin, our main collateral layer, and then following off into some of the other players that we believe have strength in this market for technical and often sometimes fundamental reasons, although we do mostly look at technicals as that's basically our data science behind monetary flow. One of the easiest ways for us to know how much money is moving into and out of a project also allows us to basically let us know who is moving into those markets, because there is smart money here now, ladies and gentlemen. In 2017, we were mostly retail investors, crazy weirdos like myself, here staked out in the jungle with gates and waterfalls and private wells, but now the world's biggest funds have started to show up. The world's biggest companies have started to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, and this has gone from somewhat of a magic internet money to a real and tangible asset. Now, I want to start by diving into the 4-hour on TradingView for Bitcoin. This is where we usually like to start our day's analysis. Although every now and then I do like to go over the general markets because of where we are. It's Sunday, the general markets are closed, but Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen, cryptocurrency, the automated market makers, they never close. We are a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week marketplace. Because of that, we will also be going live every day of the year that we can for this year. It's a little goal of mine, so please remember to subscribe and like this channel because I'm going to do a live stream every day. Anyways, so here we are. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place for Bitcoin to be right now, above the previous trading range. We had a nice break above the resistance line, and we are now in what's known as the backup phase. Now, the backup phase is usually, well, one of the main things we want to first notice on the backup phase is this noticeable declining signature of supply. Down here, ladies and gentlemen, see how the supply is going down? Yet the price is rising. So this is kind of a clear indicator that we like to watch. Falling supply, rising price. This is a very bullish momentum. If you've been joining us for quite some time, you will have watched that happen in other scenarios where just as it was about to blow up, the supply started to fall, the price started to go up, and this is how the bigger money players and the regular market players as well can tell that there's very little supply left, so they do as good a job to accumulate what's left on the open markets without driving the price up. If you went ahead and did some of your homework based off around how Elon Musk and Tesla managed to buy Bitcoin, way over here, oh, that's good. Kind of a wild green line. Way over here, this moment here, this is approximately when Tesla was buying Bitcoin around $29,000 to $30,000. And what they did was they were buying it from the open market, generally using bots, accumulating in small amounts so they didn't disrupt the market price. As you can see, when Elon tweeted, he had likely already finished accumulating to some degree, and we had a recoil, a price retracement back to the top of this support line that we had been following. This could be viewed as our break above the creek and the point of control, which runs along here as well. As soon as we got above that, there was no supply left, and we started to climb dramatically, making over a 60% move in less than 17 days. 68% to be a little bit more clear about that one. And now we are in this beautiful backup phase. And what's nice about the backup phase is if we start to go closer, there's more data that becomes available to us around this particular supply change. Now, again, one of the things we want to point out down here, falling supply, and again, remember, rising price. This is extremely helpful to recognize, as a lot of the times, for some reason, channels seem to get this wrong. And one of the things that they get wrong is that, well, you want less supply coming into the market and the price going up. This shows us that the bull market is basically starting. This is how we can tell that things are going positive in the direction we want. Now, if we started to see supply increase, and specifically negative supply, and price drop dramatically, well, that would generally entail a distribution event. But here, we're seeing the exact opposite. We're seeing less supply, price increase, and that's really, really important. And as we get into the backup phase, we're running up into the top lines of resistance of the previous buying climax, as well as the trading range here, which is again important. Now, one of the things that we want to do when we're studying is remain calm and very patient, right? I can already see that some of the people are like, oh, what do you mean it's dipping to 49 grand? Like, I'm a little baby fish. I have no idea what's going on. The ocean is dragging me around, and I'm useless against the current and the wakes because it's down to $49,000. Again, that really shows to me that there's a lot of retail in these markets, and they don't understand how the markets work. They're specifically designed to effectively displace your emotions. That's your weakest point as a human being in the markets, is your emotions, and we try to get away from those things. So what you want to do, and one of the best ways to curtail that, is by consistently studying and educating yourself further. So now that we've drawn up against this resistance line, we've actually hit the top part of our resistance on our trading range, which you can see here. Now I've got these two lines drawn because we have seen these on the 4 hour before. If you've been following us for quite some time, you'll recognize that we've, as a few backup phases now, Link specifically was one of them, we had this rising wedge movement through before breaking out of the top of the channel here. So we saw a nice amount of the start of the momentum for Link yesterday, pumping at around 37%. And we've been following Link for quite some time. Nice. Ben, thank you for the super chat. Nimic, I will look here eventually. I just want to finish this here. So this rising gradient channel is a very important one to keep an eye on, because we've seen it multiple times before, and with Ethereum as well, we're in another smaller rising gradient channel here as well. Boom. And here's the other resistance line, the other line to this as well, like this. Boom. So again, what we want to note is this is our support, and then we've got a very similar functioning style of resistance coming up along the top. And we've seen this multiple times now, especially on the 4 hour, guys. Remember to check what time frames you're on. If you're on a lower time frame, you're just not going to get the valuable data that you want. But look at the similarity in structure here. You had your general trading range, a breakout of that trading range from what's now our SOS. We're now in the backup phase, and Bitcoin is in the same place. We went from our general trading range, we hopped over the creek into a new trading range, and are now forming the backup range itself. And this backup range is one of the most exciting parts, because generally what it does, if you notice too, is this spread here, this distance is only around 11%. So what the big market operators want to do, CompMan wants to do, is he wants to accumulate within this thin spread. And often you have hedge funds, bigger money managers, opening leverage positions. Here, if we know that the spread is only 10%, 11%, you can easily, I'm not saying you should, but one could easily open up a 3x, 5x position here and stay totally within the box the whole time and not get pushed out of a position, because your entire spread so far, even like adding a little bit of buffer on either side, is only 14%. So these new trading ranges are where a lot of the big market players jump in and accumulate more. And you can see what that looks like in the background. If you've been watching us for quite some time, you would remember when we were way back here at 23,000 following this trading range and the breakout of here. Bam. Again, here's your backup, your secondary test, your first SOS, your minor SOS, boom, and then this big explosion that you get outside of the box. But it's the price spread that's really something that's interesting to the bigger players. Here, you're only operating with a 10% price spread. Very, 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 very important to keep an eye on that. So here, this new accumulation range, what's fascinating about it to me is it looks and appears like almost an entirely new trading range. This is the first trading range we have had with such a large spread since basically the entirety of the Bitcoin's trading range back from the 2018 selling climax to the 2020 breakout after $10,000. Because of that volatility here, and I think we were at around 60% for that too. Here we're at 30%, the biggest of the trading range, and breaking into one of the most bullish aspects of that sentiment possible. It's looking really good for Bitcoin. I have a clear target in my mind, upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And just very quickly, we can kind of go over how that works. I just want to pause this in the background because I know it chews up data. We'll take a look at Glassnode. Glassnode is, so Stefan Leaf, you just asked Bitcoin prediction. Well, I'll kind of go over that right now. So guys, I'm not going to make a prediction right now. I'm going to make an assertion and why I believe that conjecture, or at least why I'm looking at that conjecture. So the stock to flow ratio is an interesting way to look at this idea. And right now, what we can see is back here in 2017, the nominal price for Bitcoin miners to operate for their CFOs, their accountants, their mine machines, their internet, their uptime, their downtime, the generators, all that crap, all the people they would hire, all the beautiful things that they would do. That was around $5,000 for Bitcoin. That was the nominal price during the halving. And this is why the stock to flow model is important, is if there's demand, well, who's creating the supply? The miners are. The majority of the new Bitcoin that's coming into the ecosystem right now is coming from the miners. And that's important to remember. The miners are curating this new data or the new tokens. And because of that, their costs up front to manage their business are a pretty easy way to measure their I guess their regular functioning costs, right? So once we broke past that $6,000 mark, which is the nominal cost for Bitcoin based off how much they were producing, you actually saw a run up of $20,000 and then a declination back below that nominal price for the selling climax. And we've seen that multiple times before, back in 2014 as well. Boom, we break below the nominal miner's price. And then again here back in 2011, although a little less, but that's also because you had more supply of Bitcoin coming into the market. It was easier for the market to aggregate and just sell those thousands of Bitcoin at that time all over the map. So for me, I see a pretty clear run to around $200 something thousand, but it will be so brief. It will happen in the blink of an eye, and I'll be basically shaving off profits up that stream. You want to sell into strength, not after the strength is finished. So anything after $100,000 effectively is a nominal price to be taking profits on Bitcoin, because when we come back down, we're likely going to drop to say 80, 60,000 on the selling climax, jump right back up to 120,000 on the automatic rally. And what we'll see is a very similar relationship to what Bitcoin did just a few years ago. And again, the reason here is not to say they're going to be exactly the same, but to understand that what will be the same is most often the market cycle. Market cycles have been the same longer than you have been alive. And it's important to remember that. You have an accumulation range and then a buying climax and a distribution event up here. So if we look at this nominal moment, we'll just kind of zoom in. Excuse my dirty chart, but I've had this charted like this for quite some time. And for a reason, there's a lot of valuable data here that I don't want to have to keep redrawing. But more importantly, what we're going to do right now is highlight that nominal $6,000 price. And you can see, because of the way the miners reacted, this held us up multiple times, because this is where all the selling of the Bitcoin was coming from predominantly. Once that selling pressure broke, though, we dropped dramatically into the primary selling climax and below that nominal value. This is also where a lot of miners went out of business. So here, once we broke out of it, that supply changing hands increased dramatically. And more importantly, what we want to notice and pay attention to are the volume signatures in our supply change. So if you notice the signature here, this is going to be a very important part of the lesson to keep an eye on. This supply and price spread downwards versus this supply coming in here. So the price spread versus the supply. So this is the effort down here, the supply versus the result, the price spread. So the effort that came in was a lot. They tried to sell a lot of Bitcoin and the price barely came down. But here, this supply mark after the peak itself is what we're going to want to keep an eye on. This supply mark equal to this one. But look at the price spread that it created here. So this is the really key difference. Here we have the same amount of supply that came in previous back at the $6,000 range, but now it created a dramatically more noticeable price spread event. And this is really important because this is the laws of effort versus result that we go over so many times in these channels. And again here, look at these similar or even less supply coming in, and look at the price spread downwards. This is very clearly get out of your position and pretty much stay out. Every day since that, you drop down. Now, there's a reason to believe that, the best investors are dead and you can accumulate all through this and you could accumulate all through that, because if you know in the future the Bitcoin's going to $40,000, $80,000, $200,000, heck, why not just keep buying all the way down? No, you could, but bigger players don't. And this is why the market price falls, is because not generally there's so much, not even that there's so much selling come in, it's just that there's a big lack of buying pressure here. And you can notice it. Notice how none of these big buy bars are green. They're all red. All the big bars are effectively red. So keep that in mind. It's really, really important keystones to keep in mind, is that the amount of supply coming in, which is your effort, and the result, which is the price spread, the amount percentage that each of these price candles and wicks moved. So this is what we're going to want to keep an eye on. I don't know how high it's going to go, but as soon as we see a distribution event where the supply, based off where we are now, based off previous supply conjectures, moves the price dramatically lower. And this is the big first change of character that we saw in Bitcoin. And this represented the end of the bull market. And that will happen. It usually happens right when you don't think it's going to happen. So we'll keep in that. Amir Dado says, the bear den changed my life. I call it the baller's den. Recommended for the adventurous. P.S. Remember my question about XRP and AAVE? I did not forget, Amir. And I know we got one more question about Ben Fahir as well. And Stefan, I kind of was on your way to answering that question there too. So predominantly speaking, I actually think we go around 200, maybe even $300,000 to $400,000 just in the heat of the moment, total mania, euphoria, the US dollar is being printed at an enormous rate, and that we see that this is becoming a more and more mainstream asset. And then again, price diminishes. You see a total loss of interest in buying anywhere near these prices because it wasn't sustainable. And then what you end up seeing is a return to the stock to flow model, which is again the average cost that it takes for these miners to produce the Bitcoin. So as long as there's demand, this is the supply that's being created, and this is the nominal price that the supply has to stay at for these miners to stay in business. So the stock to flow model is a really nice way to measure the cost that it takes to make a Bitcoin. And then the reason why distribution happens is because there's just no one wants to buy Bitcoin up here. We're anything after $6,000, the miners and the big players are thinking, well, this is gravy. I'm selling 2% here, 3% here, 2% here, 5% here, 10% here. Wow, I'm going to sell like 11% here. We're still going up. And then what you see is someone sold a big chunk of supply. They changed the market dynamics. And before you know it, every day after that was a distribution event. That was pretty much time to get out. Or again, if you're new, you could literally have just accumulated through that entire range, not thought about it, because look, you'd even be up higher today. Even if you bought at the exact all-time high of 2017, you're already up 158%. Congratulations. You can still buy at the high and get it right as long as there's the incoming demand. And it looks like we are well on our way for Bitcoin becoming a global reserve asset, as the demand has only increased since 2017. And more positive news has come out around its use case as an asset and its trust as a money between the parties who want to share it. Okay, so fantastic. We went over Ethereum, again, very similar spot here. The backup phase is looking good. Link is in its final stages. Yesterday, we made a video, our video here. I'm like, yeah, it looks like we're right at that end of the moment. And we did. We got a nice 30% pump out of Link. I think I want to make some conjecture here too, guys, is to understand that when you see things like, oh, I'm a Link Marine, that means that there's a lot of volatility in that market because you have a lot of retail traders. And that's why there's such big dramatic, like, look at these wicks that you see here. The wicks that came in on Link, I think, are a very noticeable indicator that what you have here is a fair amount of retail investor, or let's say newer money investors, people that don't really know what they're doing. And the bigger players are trying to get rid of them so that they can mark the price up. I do suspect that we will see one smaller kind of final trading range, something like this, before, again, Link goes to around $40 to $50 and maybe even higher during the rest of this bull market. But again, it's important to note that Link is actually really far along in its bull market cycle. If we go back, we can see that predominantly what we should be paying attention to is this is the real accumulation range down here. This was the real cycle for Link, where you had an accumulation range between 2018 or the end of 2017 and beginning of 2018, and the bottom here, which is you can see with our point of control, which is this red line. You had your LPS test, your first SOS, your backup phase, boom. And again, this is what happens when you've got a lot of retail in the market. You'll see a price markup and they'll try to slam it back down and shake out a lot of the retail hands. And then again, what you saw this massive price markup to where now, once the kind of weaker or newer retail hands they get rid of, they continue to mark the price up. But this really noticeable volatility within even this trading range here, I think is a sign of newer money. And it's a good thing. Like, it's a good thing that there are so many people that are new to investing that are in here. But what I'm saying is that you get these really heavily dynamic trading ranges that you don't normally see in an asset that's being accumulated by big money, only because once they buy supply, they lock it up. They don't buy here, Like they don't buy here and then get weak hands here and then sell, right? They have like a stop loss of like 12%. No, big market accumulators, they just buy it and lock it away. Buy it, lock it away. Buy it, lock it away. Buy it, lock it away. Whereas here, these big wicks are likely coming from the Marines and the kind of fanatics or the cultish people who invest and don't have any investing background. So again, remember guys, the reason why this stuff is so important is because the sickness of the new investor is over emotional trading and lack of education. And we try to curate the healthiest environment to cure that problem. So if you find yourself adventurous and like trying new things, go to arcanebear.com/private and join up for the private group. There is a no questions asked refund guarantee. Now, what we also do is we basically, once you get into the den, we give you a koala bear tag, no matter what price tag you pay for. You get like your entry stamp, and you have to go through the peer review process. So we're always cultivating and like kind of snipping the edges to make sure that the content that we're providing in all of our channels is as high quality as possible, so that it's as focused as possible. There's a lot of channels or discords that as they grow, they get too noisy, and then you can't really find what's most valuable because everybody's just given the free-for-all conversation. And we don't allow that in our group. And as a matter of fact, I often have to be the bouncer and be like, hey, don't make me demote you to koala bear right now, or like, we'll give you a refund. We don't need your whiny student questions here right now. Like, out with you. Because there's a lot of people that are willing to learn and being patient about it. We provide an enormous amount of value in the group. And we see things like with what Amir did here, giving a super chat to saying he recommends it to everyone. When the community goes out of their way to pay for super chats to let other people know how good the den is, I think that's a very clear indicator that we've built something really valuable. So I take it to heart. It means a lot to me. And even though I'm the greeter, I also have to act as the bouncer too, because that's my job as kind of the founder of the company. So the other question, as we go into stage 2 of today's live stream episode, we like to go over community thoughts, questions, and take a look at what you guys are interested in. So I will just kind of finalize by going really quickly through the rest of our tokens on the watch list. And then both Ben and Amir had asked us to look. So Ben wants me to look at Nimic BTC. I definitely am not going to look at BTC because I don't think that that's a valuable way to chart something at this moment. The bigger players are using US dollar as their alpha, and that may remain the way for the next decade. So that's an important part to keep and factor in your mind while you're looking at this. And secondarily, I'm just going to roll through everything quickly here because Amir also wants me to look at XRP and AAVE. So we'll do that. So Cardano here, we've gone over this in the private trading group today. So shout out to Blue and all the Bear family members who are going through the educational process. It's important. Again, we try to curate as clear as an environment for that, remove as much static and kind of talk as possible. And I wanted to go over this too, because I usually run my preliminary supply or preliminary support right through the center of some of these, especially when there's this much volatility, because what it looks like to me, you're getting this point of control range at the bottom for ADA here as well. So I believe we've hit our first secondary test, which is always a nice thing to see. So right here we go, secondary test, bam, no, boom, boom. So I think we just produced our secondary test here for Cardano. Avalanche is looking the same to me as well. I believe we're producing our secondary test after the primary shakeout. And again here, we're running kind of right through the middle of the preliminary support here on the left-hand side. So some of you guys had asked that. Blue had gone over it as well in the private group. So it looks like we're hitting the secondary test for Avalanche. GRT, it looks like we are just finally formed the, if I go into the 4 hour here, maybe even the 1 hour is probably a little clearer. Yeah, so here guys, on the sometimes we want to zoom in to smaller time frames just to identify the range a little more effectively. So notice how when I look at the 6 hour, my primary support or preliminary supply here, either how you want to look at it, you can't see it. And even on the 4 hour, it's not clearly defined, but on the 1 hour, there it is. You can see the definition here of this support marker quite a bit easier. So what we'll do, and what I've been doing lately, is actually dragging the preliminary support not to the top of the volume bar, but actually out to I hate when the price tag is right through it. So right like this. So here's our shakeout, and GRT and Avalanche. Look at the similarities in the structure right now, where the shakeout and the secondary tests are pushing lower. This is for a few reasons. Number one, Bitcoin's price is moving up, so people want to take profits from these back into Bitcoin, our general monetary layer. And then also, right, like it also looks like we just produced our secondary test for GRT as well. So we'll just mark that here as we go through and evolve. We've got our, I haven't added that as a label yet. Okay, never mind. Pretty simple to qualify. Secondary test, save template, save as, ST. Okay, boom, that should work now. Okay, so we just produced our secondary test on GRT as well. Band is also just starting to form that new trading range. So if we go inside and we look a little closer, I do believe we just saw our first shakeout, or maybe it might be the secondary test. It looks like it might actually be the spring or the secondary test here. So if we run right through the center, we change that to our support line. We try to run this again one more time. We go to the top of the buyer's climax, bam, like this, and we change this to our resistance line. It does look like to me that we are producing the next stages of the spring for band. Just look at again here, we'll kind of zoom in a little closer. I think there's a valuable lesson to be learned here. If we look at the way it reacted to the upside after it hit the bottom of the support of the preliminary supply, that's what you're looking for out of the secondary test. So these nice run-ups too, and we saw that in Bitcoin on the much smaller time frames. If we go back to our this chart here on the 4-hour, yeah, see how the secondary test, once it hit the bottom, it like kind of sprung up. You could call this the spring. Right now in the reaccumulation channels, guys, you're not always looking at it the same way that you would your larger accumulation channels, but this was the action of the spring. Notice again the gap up here of the price. Once it hit the trading range, it moved up really quickly, and that's what it looks like we just witnessed in band as well, which is a very quick return of interest right off of this primary support line here. So it jumped up quite quickly, and again, comparatively speaking to the other areas of supply, you're seeing here less supply coming in, but more result right now, which is hugely important, especially since back here. So we're still in a bullish area with band as well. And then KNC, another one from our private members group. We'll take a look here. I'll just clean up this chart for a second. Go into the 4-hour time frame, which we're already at. Kyber Network is looking like it's going to be a little bit more volatile. You can see it for already the relationship of some of the wicks, like these really big spinning spinning candle wicks, and this wick out here. A lot of buying pressure, but a lot of volatility in these markets. So one of the things that's kind of interesting is we maybe would put our conjecture of our resistance line right here, and then our buying climax like this instead as well. So we are still forming the new trading range for these guys. And again, what we look at, these 17-20% price spreads are often going back into Bitcoin and reaccumulating more Bitcoin into their value adds. That's what I do when I have a position that's overextended itself in my portfolio. I put it back in Bitcoin, knowing that I believe in Bitcoin on the long term. So keep that in mind. Okay, so the last ones are the group chats, where you guys that leave a super chat, I will go over those thoughts and questions. So we're going to start with Amir, because Amir gave 2 super chats, one yesterday and one today, to both look at AAVE and XRP. So AAVE is one that we're a big fan of. It is currently, the last time I looked at it, in a reaccumulation pattern right now. So what you can probably already start to notice is that there are some similarities between the previous breakouts here that we've been watching. There's my old one, but more importantly, it's these new areas that we're going to keep an eye on here. So this is where it gets a little tricky. Let's see here. Boom, we've got our buying climax. Let's go into the 1 hour again. It'll make it clear. See how on the 1 hour, it's easier to see my buying climax as well as my primary support or preliminary supply. This is really important. This is really important here, is to run, I like to run right through the center. So here, I think what we're witnessing for AAVE is a new trading range. And what's interesting too is that we've actually started to accumulate near the top of the trading range as well. Again, we could make a potential that this is distribution as well. So if I were in an AAVE position and I was up a bunch right now, and I've already taken some profits. So if I was heavier into this position right now, I would be a little weary because of this line here. This particular moment here. Now it's not clear because these can just be an upthrust. They don't have to be a distribution upthrust, but this chunk of supply coming in near the top and testing is a little worrying to me. But considering we're staying right around the point of control, I don't think it's a big deal. This looks like our shakeout, and it looks like we had secondary tests stay above. So AAVE looks like it's a very clear market leader still. I would keep an eye on this trading range specifically. If you start to see a break below the box, more horribly drawn lines. It's a good thing that they give me these. Hey, if you start to see a break below the box, I would be out of a position. But at the current moment, we're right in the mid range of this box entirely. So I wouldn't be too stressed out. I think it's still a good position. You want to accumulate below the value line, the POC, which is where we are now. But at the same point, I would be when we see this type of big growth, you just want to be more cautious with positions, right? So you could have like a stop. You could, if you're already in profit, not investment advice, but I would generally run like stop losses just to protect the profits I had already made on this run up, sitting in my spot position. So I'd keep an eye on that. Lastly, for Amir, we will look at XRP. Now, there's a lot of talk around XRP and a lot of noise, but you have to remember that the XRP has the XRP army, and look at the volatility here is pretty incredible. But yeah, see this type of chart just never looks that good to me. Like there's nothing here where I'm like, yeah, there's like a serious player here. This volatility to me doesn't look like a serious player. Serious players leave footprints that are really well defined. Right? And XRP does not have a defined footprint at all. It's just fucking madness and noise. This to me is probably mostly driven by retail hype. And as we can see here, if we just do our measuring of strength and comparative analysis, who gives a fuck? It's only done 140% since January. When we can go back, we can look on the 4 hour from our GRT play, and from January, you're talking 1,300% or like 1,000%. So fuck XRP. It's a worthless waste of time, in my opinion. Oh, but it went up 100%. Who cares? GRT did 1,000% in that same time frame. Where do you want to follow? I want to follow the strength, not the laggers. I want to cut the laggers, and I want to focus on the ones that are providing the most strength. Because if there's that much money moving into it, it probably means there's a lot of money that knows something that I might not. And that's one of the reasons why we call ourselves like money data scientists. Is what we're looking for is the value of other big funds moving into this sector and accumulating these assets based off their due diligence team and their legal team and their tech team as well. Because often they can afford a heck of a lot more than we can, so we can follow their footprint. And when you see XRP here with all this dramatic nonsense, this to me just says there's no real player here. That's my personal opinion. There's no player here. This is just strictly driven by retail madness and hype. That's all I want to say about XRP. I saw a super chat get dropped for Nim. And then Timothy says, lots of value in the private group, everyone. He says Patreon, but we don't have a Patreon, so be careful. You should double check to make sure that there is no Arcane Bear Patreon. And if there is, I got to report it. Highly recommend for noobs like me, you take a look at UMA. Okay, I don't know what UMA is, but if it gets the same conjecture that we just built up here, UMA to tether, we'll take a look. So first off, predominantly, guys, what I do is go straight to some type of comparative strength analysis based off what we've seen with GRT. So we go from January, we run up to now, we're like, 272%. Okay, there's a fair amount of productive value in there. There's no clear indicator that there's a big player in this ecosystem based off the history. So that's a little worrying to me. And there's a very thin layer holding us up here effectively. So what we could do is go, well, this is a reaccumulation after decline. Are we witnessing a reaccumulation box? Maybe, but because there's no clearly defined footprint in the rest of the ecosystem, but there was a perfectly defined footprint here for GRT, a perfectly defined footprint here for band, I generally ignore what's just noise, because just noise to me usually indicates a very clear indicator that it's not that market is not being surrounded by big investors. It's being surrounded by random investors. And I would much rather play with the big money and let them move my ships instead of me just trying to chase ideas. And here with Band, even though we've got a similar percentage gain from January of around 200% for UMA, this beautifully clear structure to me, it represents big money. And here, there's nothing in clarity to me that says there's a real player in this ecosystem. So I wouldn't even touch UMA, personally speaking, because it just doesn't have the defined characteristics of things like GRT or Avalanche, where you see these beautifully well-defined trading ranges day over day, move after move, like trading range. That to me signals there's very serious players in this ecosystem, and that's who I want to follow as well, because I can kind of ignore certain aspects of fundamental work and say, well, there's enough money here to know that there's fundamentals. Okay. I know you'd asked about Nimic as well, Ben, so I'm sorry to get to your question last to some degree, but Nimic, okay, first thing off the bat, it's on very few exchanges, so it's very illiquid. I probably can tell you already, I don't like what I'm going to see, or I'm not going to like what I'm going to see here, but we'll go ahead and we'll take a look anyways, because that's what we do. We like to take a look. If you guys drop super chats, we'll pretty much always take a look, but I can tell right off the bat, because there's a lack of exchanges to play on. It just is not going to represent anywhere near the type of structure that I want. Most likely, I may be wrong. We're going to get to find out here in a second. So let's take a look. I should probably just wait before I talk, right? Okay, so here is Nimic. Again, this is the difficult part, guys. You've got very limited data. Although we could make an argument that this has been an SOS and then a backup and then another SOS. But again, let's just do a comparative strength analysis from January. You're talking about 240%. We see with the lack of clarity in this range here. Although look at the amount of supply selling. This is kind of an interesting. This is interesting here. The amount of supply that came into the market and how very little it affected the price. That's really, really interesting to see. But again, this is the problem when you have a token that's only on like 5 exchanges. It just doesn't. I wouldn't play in that. I want to play in liquid places where I can move money in and out without being noticed, basically. Here, you might even accidentally move the market in such an illiquid token. I would be very hesitant about playing with Nimic. Again, we could make an argument this was an SOS and this is a backup phase and this is our next SOS and LPS phase, but there's just not enough data and clarity as, again, in comparison. KNC, another great example of a beautiful footprint where there is obviously large market money players. And even though it's a reaccumulation after decline, not one of our strongest ecosystems, we're seeing very clear trading ranges take place. And then the breakout that follows the nice arc patterns that we like so much. So I'd be very hesitant about stuff like this, guys, especially when you go into TradingView and I go up here and I'm like NIM or whatever, and you're like, okay, so it's on KuCoin and HitBTC. You're like, okay, so it's not popular at all. I definitely don't want to be playing here. Like I'd have to open a new exchange account just to buy this thing. Not a chance. It just doesn't sound like a great choice to me. Original Birth says the Bear Den Investment Group I have joined. They are extremely helpful, professional, motivating, and while keeping it fun. Tio is more like a coach that wants you to bring your own A game to town. That's, yeah, true. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Original Birth. And guys, again, I'm like the welcome guy and the bouncer as well. So I also give people crap. Like if you show up and you're being a whiny student and whatnot, I tell you, I let you know. That's what a good leader does. Doesn't let you get away with being like a little baby about your learning process. In the jungle, bugs bite. You know, there's snakes everywhere. There's things that can kill you. Be aware of that, right? You're in the markets. There's things that can drag your account down. You really want to suck it up. Take the process, the learning, and the bluntness often as kindness, because the truth is way more beneficial than being like, oh, look, you won a prize for being here. Like, that's not how it works in the Bear Den. I let you know. You're like, oh, what's this coin? I'm like, well, show me the chart. Don't just ask me. It's useless. It does no good for your learning capabilities. So thank you, Original Birth. I love giving us a super chat, telling everyone how great the Bear Den is. Let's see. Oh, Chris Phillips drops another super chat. Says, shout out to Tiho, Baloo, and the tech team. The amount of knowledge and educational tools is mind-blowing. Hashtag Bear Den family. I can't wait for all the new innovative features coming to the group. Thank you, Chris Phillips. Drops a $25 super chat. Guys, what's crazy to me is that you guys are all contributing more money to the super chats to let other people know how much you love the private group. That to me is like I don't think recommendations get any better than that. So thank you guys so much. That really means a lot to me. And Enigma Capital says, does your view on XRP consider temporary illiquidity bottlenecks by this SEC lawsuit? This lawsuit is weak. This lawsuit is not weak, by the way. My legal team is fairly astute. It prosecuted one of the most expensive prosecutions in U.S. history. So no, it's not weak. Trust me. The SEC, if they want to push their thumb on someone, they will, and they'll make an example out of you. They don't give a fuck, and they don't even need a good case. Like, if you've ever looked at legal history, if they want to deem you guilty, you will be. It's not innocent until proven guilty. If they want to make an example out of you, they will, and they have. I would not think that they have a weak case at all. Now, the SEC gave XRP a chance to settle a while back, and they said no. Now, if you look at what the SEC did with EOS, they're like, well, would you like to settle? And they're like, yeah, okay. And they're like, well, great, it's a $40 million fine. You're not a security. And they're like, great. Had the XRP lawyers decided to do that before, they would have been free and clear already, but they wanted to fight. They thought that they had a chance. The SEC does not go around. If they want to come after you, they will. And again, it doesn't matter if you're innocent. They will make an example of you. They've done this in courtrooms before. Do your homework. The SEC doesn't come with weak prosecution. You really might want to check your frigging homework on that one. And look, fine. And secondarily, I do not like the SEC either. I'm not like promoting that we need them. I don't think we should have any regulations. I think if you touch the fucking stove and you get burnt, great. That's your lesson. Not, oh, they got burned, we should save them by recompensing them for the burning that happened because there was no warnings on the stove. It's like, I would rather the motherfucker just got burnt. And because then he learned a lesson at least. I don't think regulation is a valuable thing. I think it gets in the way of people actually learning a lesson. That's my own thoughts. May I ask your thoughts on Reef to BTC? We went over Reef in the private group today. I try to leave some of that stuff for the private group. Arcane is right. Oh, I don't know if I'm correct, but that's generally my feeling on the SEC. I've read some of their stuff before. Both sides are right. Yeah, I don't think that there should be an SEC. That's my real argument for XRP. But they walked out of the room a while ago when the SEC gave them a chance to settle. That was a bad move on their part, my opinion. Okay, it says, I have no ideas about mining. It's not really my forte. I focus on monetary data science basically, and venture capital now. We're adding that to the full-time table. Okay, will you please check your teeth? Oh, did I eat something earlier? Maybe. Hold on, let's find out. Can I look at the camera and do it? Can I check my teeth in the camera? Oh, I did. Look at that. Thank you. This is what you get for eating almonds before you do a live stream. Hilarious. Oh, awesome. Elsie Andy just did a timeline breakdown for the live stream. I'll drop that in there, Andy. I appreciate your support. Thank you. It means a lot. You nice. I appreciate that. You're catching on in this game. You're awesome. I try to work really hard, guys. Thank you for helping me. That's fantastic. Any thoughts about Orion as a project, not price-wise? No, I don't really look at fundamentals. I try to ignore them. I've gone over that, why I try to ignore fundamentals. And when I ignore everybody. I just listen to my own thoughts. I mean, I try to listen to everyone and hear them, and then I just make my own conclusions. I don't ever let anyone else sway my conclusions. Faustro says, you're the best, bro. I love you. Thank you for the support. Again, it's not always easy being the welcome guy and the bouncer too. It's a little difficult, but I love your guys' support. You give me the room for that one. Yeah, I'm out in Costa Rica mining my teeth with almonds. Yeah, it's a true story. Food on the teeth is the verification that you're a human, says Bjorn. That's hilarious. Proof of human achieved, yay! I'm not a robot, guys. I actually eat food. Funny stuff, okay. Yeah, about the mining from a financial point of view, it's better to hold the 22 ETH or change the BTC. Yeah, I really don't know an answer to that question. We're very speculative with ETH still. It could go either way in this ecosystem. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a clearly identified game there. Anyone who thinks cleaning your teeth is disgusting, it doesn't even know, is probably not a very good human being. That's my sentiment there for you, Adam. It's like thinking your girlfriend doesn't fart or something ridiculous. You're like, life must suck for you, Adam. What do you think of Rune right now? I don't know. It's a very vague question. Do you think $50,000 psychological ban will dump Bitcoin? No, I don't. I don't think the psychological area there is too much, other than we're looking at a real point of resistance. And what they're trying to do right now is accumulate it. So right now we're watching Bitcoin on the 4-hour in this new accumulation range, which is in the area of the backup phase itself. It's not the psychological resistance so much I'm interested in. It's actually the buying pressure. So again, we went over this earlier, but I'll go over it again. Notice the falling supply and rising price. So falling supply, rising price. That's a really clear indicator that we're in some of the final stages before Bitcoin goes for a nice run. Sean Dunford says, can we pay for the group with crypto instead? Yes, but you have to pay for a minimum of a year to do that. And you have to email info@arcanebear.com. So if you go through the regular sign-up process, arcanebear.com/private, and then sign up and then message info@arcanebear.com, our very lovely admin team staff will help take care of you. That's the only way to do that. And it's minimum a year, because we can't do month by month. It's already hard enough to manage people's year accounts at that point. We've got over like 800 people in there now, which is amazing. Thank you guys. I really appreciate the support. We're super close to some of the fun stuff. Oh yeah, we're going to bring on in chats, early chats with I don't want to give it away yet because we haven't finalized anything, but we might have a woman come on who's a coder and developer and help create content around the DeFi sector and take a look more at the coding and the developing structure side of things, because I know nothing about that. And we're talking about bringing in Baloo as well for the Bear Forge, where will be some of the next episodes, and then maybe even like a full like weekly or daily show alongside my show. So we're looking at how we can scale up. So from there, Osmodum Phil says, I've been following for a little while now, and this helped a lot. Thank you. I appreciate it. I love this. Don't you hate tuning a 12-string? I have my oud is 11 strings, and I love tuning the new machine head ones, but the older ones now is very difficult. Very, very difficult. Can you look at sand? Yeah, I do that every day when I go to the beach. JW says, join the group, guys. It's worth it. I appreciate the support, JW. It's good to see. I made you a mod already. That was smart of me. Can you analyze the Go chain chart, please? It would really help me on making a decision to sell or buy. Yeah, I definitely, in that stuff, toughly, you're going to have to go through and use the educational materials that we've given you to make your own decision, because that's all we try to do here is empower each of you guys to come to your own conclusions. Now, if you drop super chats, that's usually a good way to incentivize my behavior, because then it's like a clear, noticeable question in front of everyone. Okay, that's the end of today's episode, guys. I want to do something fun, so let's go. Drop it in my face for a second. So for those of you that don't know, we are big fans of Kiva. Now, if you take a look here, Kiva is a nonprofit lending platform that makes loans to underbanked, underserved entrepreneurs around the world, people that generally can't get a loan because they don't have identification, they don't have the banking qualifications, etc. And it's a really, really important that these types of things happen. Now, I want to point something out to you guys, because rankings across all time for the Arcane Bear team is we are number 8 for all new users on the platform. That means we are starting to rank in the top 10 of movers on kiva.org, which is amazing. We've brought in the most users this month in the business category. Thank you, guys. And we are number 9 for the most amount funded in loans. This month alone on Kiva, we have funded over $5,600 together to 46 women and 11 men from the agricultural sector, the food sector, retail, art, services, clothing. 58 total loans from 23 this month alone, around 1.4 loans per member, with 41 team members and 15 new members this month. So if you guys want to join the Arcane Bear team, you can go to arcanebear.com/Kiva. And what we're going to do is I'm going to sign in here, and we're going to go make a loan. So last week, shout out to Aaron Hogan Eric Hogan. He made some super chat donations close of around $2,000 American, which was pretty fantastic. And what I decided to do was put that all towards Kiva, because we think Kiva is amazing. And it's such a great platform, and we believe that this is a great way to share the story of helping the underbanked and underserved entrepreneurs around the world. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to jump in. We're going to find a woman to lend some money to. We got $1,100 in there still. Let's take a look at maybe whose loan can we fill out. Elham from Jordan. She needs 570. Whoa! What happened here? Okay. They're not a tech team. That's okay. We'll take a look at Elham's story. Okay. So she is from Jordan. She's into sewing. Elham is good with the needle. Sounds a little abstract, but she's a tailor. Okay, good. She's not good with a heroin needle. Her practice had many good years. She feels empowered by her business. She wants to pass this on as a valuable skill to other women in her community. She is well prepared. She has sewing machines, which means she can hire others. She also has enough work to go around. Her biggest problem, though, is finding the space to fit more hands. So a loan is going to help her find that space to complete her project. She is a role model to others and an important member of her family. This project will help many other women in her community, especially escape the conflict in her own town. Got a nice 4-star review from their field partner. It's 21 months for the rest of the loan. We're just going to go fill out the entire $575 that she needs for that loan. That's just, I guess, $500 at that moment. So boom. Elham, we hope you enjoy the new office space that you get to run. We'll bring this down here to 10 instead for Kiva, and then boom, there we go. Just like that, another entrepreneur funded and on their way to growing and managing their business. And then what we like to do, guys, if you haven't yet, go follow us on Twitter and all the social media channels. We're gonna go like this: #Bitcoin. Wait. #crypto, #give or something, #BearDen family, #bear family. Yeah, there we go. I don't know. I don't think anyone else uses that tag, just us. So there we go. Super exciting. Again, you guys, if you haven't yet, you can follow us on Instagram as well. I post photos of me with a laptop in weird places now. It's a thing I started to do. I think I'm trying to show off that you can work from anywhere in the world with a laptop nowadays. So follow us on Instagram if you like watching photos of me in cool places with a laptop. I don't know. It's just something I'm playing around with. Yeah, look, Tio with a laptop again. This funny too, guys, just so you know, this laptop doesn't even work. I could literally, because I'm going to take this out and there's going to be photos of me playing in the ocean with this laptop because it's been broken for a long time. It's not a laptop. It's a lamp. It's a lamp stonk. It's a stomp lamp. And then remember, guys, follow us on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up if you like this content. Like, subscribe, share, all those fun ththings. And if you haven't yet, go to www.arcanebear.com/private. You can check out our private group. Remember, there's no questions asked, refund guarantee. We want to keep everyone happy. And yeah, that's it. That's the show today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining us. Let's see here. Give you my face back. It means the world to me. Yep, it really does. I love that we can do these shows, these streams. It's so much fun. I love what I love it. It's crazy how deflationary technology gives us the hands of the ability to do all this fun stuff. David just dropped a $20 super chat. Says, I met you in a dream last night. Thanks for keeping me safe in the jungle. Oh, that's good. Wait, did one of you make a comment too about Oh, Jay Schwartz. I wanted to read this comment, guys, because I think Jay said something nice here. Jay said, I messaged Tio last night in a moment of doubt and weakness. He saw my message but didn't reply. I was being a baby. His silence improved me, and I immediately felt better and centered. Make up your own damn mind. Jay, I don't even think I saw your message. I apologize. But I'm glad that my silence was empowering for you. That's such a kind sentiment that you shared there. His unwillingness, or at that point it was actually just my unnoticing, because I get tons of messages, guys. Please note, I get tons of messages. I want to try to respond with all of you. I probably just didn't even notice it, Jay. And then David says I kept him safe in the jungle. So I appreciate your guys' support. Let's deal with the Arcane Bear. We're signing off for the rest of the day. I'll be back again, a live stream every day for the rest of the year. Bam.